And welcome back to the First and Goal podcast. My name is Lewis. Next to me, as always, is my beautiful co-host Laraib. As we are here to break down Week 10 of the NFL season, we officially hit the double-digit mark of the NFL season. More than halfway the season is completed. Laraib, give yourself a little pat on the back for making it this far, especially if you have made it this far with us all season long. We've had some, as I guess you could say, inconsistent upload scheduling as of recent. Had to go vote on Tuesdays, so I had to postpone our inevitable halfway season. I think we'll end up doing that between week 15 and 16. That's when we'll do our mid-season award show. But ideally, that will be coming soon. Hopefully next Tuesday. I don't think there's anything that will come up. Hopefully, we're not too tired that day either. But you never know. Um, but we're here excited to break down week 10. Just a quick picks recap, Laura. We're not going to bring it up. Let's just say we ended up tying last week. The first tie that we've had for a while. Just some notable outcomes that swung differently. We didn't disagree on a lot of games from last week. There were a lot of kind of chalky outcomes, I would say. But the Thursday night football game is what ended up saving you in the end as your frisky Jets took down the Texans. Is there any other game from last week that you want to say, hey, this was interesting?
They called me a madman, first of all, for picking that Jets team after the way they've been playing. And what do? They dismantled the Texans on national television on Thanksgiving. And then the big thing this week was, or last week was, Lewis, you picked the Titans as your upset when you previously told me you were going with a different team. And that kind of just swung it all out of whack because if I would have picked the team that was favored in that game, the Titans, that would have given me the 1 point advantage on that. And so come out with a tie, a week where we didn't have too many disagreements. What the only big ones was my upset and then the Texans game. And so I feel like this week we're going to have a lot more things we're going to disagree on as well. And also 5-3-1. I still have that 2-game lead and our first tie since 2022. We did not have a tie
It's been a
all
hot
last
minute.
year. So
Been a hot minute.
been a long time. I think what was it, like our second or third year where we had like a lot of ties, but we really, cleaned that up. And now we have a chance. I have a chance to get 3 games on you here in week 10. But before we get into those games, we have 4 teams on by the Browns, the Raiders, the Packers, and the Seahawks. And so all those fans get to have a break this week from their team, not going to be miserable like me and my Seahawks. But let's go ahead and start off on Thursday Night Football, Lewis. We have the Bengals going to Baltimore to play the Ravens, and the Ravens are favored by a whole 6.5 points. And the last time these two teams matched up, it was both offenses going back and forth, and the Bengals held a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. Held Derrick Henry to under 50 rushing yards in the third quarter. Lamar Jackson had less than 180 passing yards. Also, within that fourth quarter time. But then late in the fourth quarter, the Ravens really pick it up, tie the game up, and then a huge Derrick Henry run in overtime really put the Bengals
A
over.
Joe Burrow interception on the final drive didn't
That
help the
that as well,
Bengals.
and Evan McPherson missed kick. But
Mm-hmm.
I think tonight
Tonight in
history
Baltimore.
history will correct itself. The Bengals will go into Cincinnati and pull off a huge win here. If the Bengals would have won that game, we're talking about two teams who are both 5-3 right now. But where we're sitting at, like this, it kind of feels like the Ravens are leagues ahead of the Bengals. But in a win tonight, I really think that flips on its head.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to put it because a lot of times we only view these teams based off their win-loss record when it really is the slightest of margins that determines, these games. A lot of times it's just a single play here and there that flip these games. And you look at one team who's 2 losses worse, and it's like, how do you separate the win-loss record from the actual results on the field? And that's our job to really break these matchups down and deliver that cogent analysis to you viewers at home. And a big theme for me in this picks that I want to look at is, we just wrapped up with the NFL trade deadline this week. A lot of action going on. And you kind of see the trend with a lot of teams. Some front offices are giving you little hints, some Easter eggs, as you might call it, on where the direction of their team is going and what they view they need for their team. Both these teams made some deals at the deadline. the Bengals going out and requiring some running back depth. Obviously, Zach Moss, he's on IR. He's indefinite return. We don't know. So they go and pick up Khalil Herbert out of Chicago. I'm a huge fan of his. He's been on multiple fantasy teams of mine. He averaged 6.4 yards per carry in one season. I love him. I think he's going to be a great guy to steal carries and yards from Chase Brown to make me not look like an idiot for dropping him in fantasy earlier this season. Meanwhile, the Ravens go out and get Tre'Davious White from the Rams for a 7th-round pick. I liked Tre'Davious White, obviously, LSU, but right now doesn't really move me whatsoever considering some of the other corners that were available on the market, like a Marshawn Lattimore, he was available to be had, at the price. So kind of puzzling that they settled here for Tre'Davious. He has some physical traits, but he has just been bad all season long for the Rams. So adding another bad corner doesn't really do much for me. But let's go specifically into this matchup. So when the first time they played, the big thing was the dynamic duo of Chase and Higgins. Higgins 2 touchdowns in that game. And he's doubtful, Higgins is, entering this Thursday Night Football contest, unlikely to play Laraib. And that's a big deciding factor for me because obviously the way to get this Baltimore team is their secondary. And I just don't think without Higgins, it's a different passing attack. And that's why they really needed him entering this season. And when he's been out, their offense is completely different, Laraib. And the Bengals also just not doing well against top-tier offenses. Their defense does a good job of bullying around the Raiders of the world, the Panthers of the world. But against teams with a winning record, not only are the Bengals 0 in those games, 0-4, but they've surrendered over 29.6 points per game. And their defense really been costing these games. And I just don't think against this high-level offensive attack with the Ravens that it's going to be sustainable. In Baltimore, off a short week, both these teams had blowout wins, so they should have plenty rest. But I just can't see this Cincinnati team, the way that they performed in big games, I can't see them having another close game. And you could say, hey, maybe a few things go their way in that game. I think that was the game they had, and they blew it. And this is the time when the Ravens say, you are not doing that to us again. We're stomping our foot down and choking all the air out of you. Give me the Ravens 31, Freudian slip to Bengals 20.
Yep, your mind was telling you exactly where to go in this one, Lewis. The thing you really forgot to mention is this Ravens defense does not scare anybody. They could not stop a stop sign if they tried their hardest. And I think that's what's going to happen tonight.
Justin Madubuike.
This Ravens pass rush, Lewis, is bottom 3 in time to throw for the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks have all day to sit in the pocket, figure out who they want to throw to, and gingerly throw the ball to the guy who's going to be streaking open down the sideline. That is going to be Jamar Chase tonight. That is going to be Mike Gesicki tonight. I think Joe Burrow, all the time in the world to get the ball to your playmakers, and they win this game. It's going to be really close. It's going to be really fun. But I think this time, Evan McPherson makes his late field goal, and the Bengals win this one. Give me the Bengals 33-30.
All right, Laraib, let's go ahead and go to Sunday's slate of games. Starting off in the noon slate, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the 49ers. A huge rest disadvantage here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, going from a overtime game, at Kansas City to coming all the way back home to face a San Francisco team off a bye. Clearly not the situation that you want to be in. And, the San Francisco team, a team that just feels like it's desperately needed a bye week all season long. This feels like a really tough spot here for Tampa. They put off a really awesome effort and performance against the Chiefs, but just could not get it done. Some late game execution. I mean, it's hard to say they didn't execute. It's just one of those things where the coin didn't flip their way. They didn't, get the ball in overtime. Chiefs go down, score, and that's Kansas City for you. So Tampa still, despite, everyone crossed the team off when they lost Godwin and Evans. And it seems like rightfully so. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. It seems like they're floundering a little bit on offense, but they have pretty similar efficiency numbers. They're still top 10 on third down efficiency. Baker Mayfield's still playing pretty well. He's just finding new guys like Cade Otton, McMillan, whatever his first name is. Not coming to me right now. And his defense is still talented, still has guys on the inside. But against the San Francisco team, I mean, off a bye, they've really had an up and down season. I just think that if this team is legit, looking at their division, how tight it is, they really do need this one. So I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers here. I think a big thing in this game is just that offensive line getting more healthy, getting their right guard back who have missed a few weeks. I think just this unit getting a lot more cohesiveness. Christian McCaffrey, this is not the week he'll return, but maybe soon. But being able to run the ball in a game like this will be huge, especially on the road. I'm going with the 49ers 33 to Tampa 20.
Yeah, and I'm also have to pick the 49ers in this one, Lewis. Credit to the Bucks, like you mentioned, the last 2 weeks without their two main guys, they've still held up on the offensive side of the ball. What's really been frustrating though has been that defense, right? We see the Falcons come into Tampa and really just throw to whoever they wanted to. And then last week we see the Chiefs maybe struggle a little bit on downs here and there, but still you see guys like DeAndre Hopkins just getting wide open. Kareem Hunt really opening it up in the second half and overtime. I just think the 49ers are going to come into here with Jawan Jennings back. Christian McCaffrey, I'm not sure he's completely out for this game just yet, but we'll see what his status is. But I just think the 49ers coming off a rest, they're going to have their way with this Bucks defense, and it's just not – it's going to be close, but I just think the 49ers pull away at the end. Give me the Niners 28 to 23.
All right, so you have Tampa covering. That's interesting. Next game up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Washington to face the Commanders. Commanders with a 2.5-point spread in this ball game. Super interesting game. Both these teams, we didn't really have high expectations for entering the year, but here they both stand with only 2 losses entering Week 10. Steelers 6-2, Commanders 7-2, and it's really just about the identity of both these teams that they've really stuck to. The Commanders, it's everything's brand new. New coach, new owner, new GM, new quarterback. But at the same time, that's new, but it's the veterans they brought in who really provide that level, that steady-handedness, that just provide the security that you need for a team. And meanwhile, Pittsburgh, it's just the old machine keeps on churning. And the gutsy decision by Mike Tomlin to go with Russell Wilson, despite Justin Fields having pretty decent numbers and having some pretty decent wins under his belt. And it seems like it's borne out to be the right decision so far. But this is their biggest test since making that change on the road at Washington. What are you looking for here, Laura? A guy that you could say you've watched a good bit in your lifetime in Russell Wilson. What are you looking for? Maybe there's more film on him. Maybe the script's out. What can he do in this game against Washington to keep solidifying that starting spot?
It's going to be his deep ball, Lewis. The signature moon ball has returned, and no better guy to throw that ball to than George Pickens, someone who is a monster for going up and getting those contested balls. You talk about this Steelers offense in the last 2 weeks. Russell Wilson has taken over, Lewis. Over 800 yards of offense combined in those 2 games. They've really started to pick up that deep field threat. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, still a great dynamic running back room. And I really think they have a good shot here against the Commanders on the road. Mike Tomlin in his career, 25-6 against rookie quarterbacks. Now, Jaden Daniels doesn't look like a rookie quarterback this season so far, but I still think the Steelers, they average less than 100 rushing yards allowed on the season. I really think it's going to slow down this Commanders offense, and the Steelers are in a good spot to pick up their 7th win of the year.
Well, interesting dynamic because, I brought up big thing for me was the trade deadline. Both these teams made some pretty splashy moves. On both sides of the ball for Pittsburgh, they bring in a guy like Preston Smith, who a lot of Packers fans have been pretty down on. He's kind of had up and down play all season long. And, but just as a rotational edge rusher, he does have 4.5 sacks on the season. So he could still be a viable third down, just pure pass rush type of guy on the outside for them. And then once you put on that black and gold, some of these guys just transform into monsters on the defensive side of the ball. And then they bring in Mike Williams as well on the outside. Another, prototype Russell Wilson receiver, big body, contested catch down the field. Definitely fits the mold of this offense. Now, how much they will be utilized, we'll see. And then obviously probably the biggest move of the trade deadline was the Commanders trading for Marshawn Lattimore, because although the past few weeks, the Commanders had a pretty solid pass defense, it hasn't been against the greatest of passing attacks. So it's kind of seemed a little foolish. We've seen this defense is not that good. They've had good performances in the past few weeks, but I still don't really trust them. But adding a guy like Marshawn Lattimore, just a lockdown corner to really shut down a receiver, shut down one side of the field, does a ton for a defense that allows guys like St. Juiced, who's been getting torched by number one receivers this year, to now allow him to move on to an easier assignment on the other side of the field. And then Mike Sandersville, the rookie out of Michigan, a guy who played a lot of nickel and inside, in Michigan. He kind of can return to his natural position and allow him to use his talents to the best ability. So I think in this game specifically against Pittsburgh, a lot will be determined by how Russell Wilson can move the ball. And I don't trust Russ, Laraib. I don't trust him. I think that enough film is out there. They're finally facing a competent team in Washington. Dan Quinn, who knows Russ very well. I think they have a good game plan. And I just trust JD5. I like the Steelers defense, but he's been playing just super efficient football. They lead the entire league in points per drive and yards per drive in the entire league. They don't have the gaudy numbers like some other teams do, but in terms of just straight up efficiency, scoring drives, they are the most efficient, and they're going to test this Pittsburgh defense. Give me the Commanders at home to move to an impressive 8-2. 30, or no, that's too much. I have 23 to Pittsburgh 16.
And I think this is going to be a defensive battle where the Steelers defense shows why they are the best unit currently in the NFL. And they win this game 24-21, Lewis. But let's go ahead and move on to another game. We are starting to get into the afternoon slate. We have the New York Jets traveling all the way to Arizona to play the Cardinals. And the Jets favored by 2 points again against a solid Cardinals team who are 5-4, currently leading the NFC West, Lewis. And something was woken up in this Jets team last Thursday night, and they're going to continue it this week against the Cardinals. We saw what this team can look like when they're humming offensively and defensively. It looked like everything was clicking with Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson and that defense. And now the one piece that really has not been playing too well in the last couple of weeks, Lewis, Breece Hall. I think you're going to expect a huge performance out of him this week against this Cardinals defense, who has been, playing by
not too huge.
Yeah, maybe not too huge. But this Cardinals defense who, maybe has not been tested the most in the last 2 weeks. I just have a really good feeling about how this Jets team has been playing football, Lewis, off that little mini bye. I think they're in a great spot here.
This game is such a minefield to navigate whenever you're trying to pick a winner, because you have this stupid Cardinals team that you start to believe in a little bit here and there. They pull off some impressive win. They just destroy the Bears by 20 points. And it's like, okay, am I ready to buy back in? Is this the time? Is Kyler, proving me wrong? And then they just drop one, and they just look so inept. And Kyler looks like it doesn't belong on the football field. But I still trust them more than the damn New York Jets. This Cardinals offensive line has actually been playing very well. And James Conner, especially, rushing the ball very efficiently, top 5 in the NFL in rushing this season. And he's just been a workhorse for them. And then against this Jets defense, I still don't trust this Jets defensive front. They were able to beat up an awful injury-ravaged Texans offensive line that even I, didn't understand how bad it was. And I like to keep my eye on offensive lines. And I'm not saying this Cardinals offensive line is much better, but they've had a lot more success, and they're not missing anyone in particular in this game. So I think that they will have success rushing the ball. And that extra element that you didn't have last week with CJ Stroud is Kyler's ability, especially at home. Kyler's splits, rushing home versus away, are pretty drastic. He averaged about 63.5 rushing yards at home versus 42.5 on the road, which is pretty significant, especially against a team like the Jets, who over pursue a lot. And I don't trust this Jets team is still bad. Like, let's not act like this team is they're 3-6, but Devontae Adams saved the team. I'm scared because I'm picking the Cardinals in this one. and I don't like it. This game is really tripping me up, but the Cardinals are a better team. They've had more impressive moments this season, more cohesive moments this season, and you're expecting this Jets team to go on the road. I don't see it. Give me the Cardinals 28 to Jets 24.
And I'm grinning ear to ear,
Ear
just
to
like how I
ear,
was
huh?
last week. They called me a madman for picking the Jets, and I'm picking up here again in this spot.
Madman.
Their offense is just better, Lewis. That's all I can tell you. Better. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get his ass locked up by Sauce Gardner, and this is going to be an
Baron Browning.
easy win for the Jets here. Give me the Jets 27-20.
X Factor. Baron Browning, recently acquired via trade from Denver. Cardinals needed some help on the edge rush. He provides that extra spark to make Aaron Rodgers have a awful time at the
Yeah, get the ball out
offense.
really quick to Garrett Wilson, A-Rod.
Yeah, for fantasy, but not for real football. Let's go ahead, Laraib. Let's move on to Sunday night football. We have the Detroit Lions traveling to Houston to face the Texans. Detroit favored by 3.5 points on the road. And this honestly was in contention for one of the lines I really liked the most this week. The Lions get to stay indoors once again. They just keep getting their first road game or first outdoor game of the season was last week, and they still dominated. And this Texans team has a ton of questions. They might be sitting here with a 6-3 record, like, okay, hey, we're not too bad. But the way they looked last week against the aforementioned awful Jets team, to now see this light show of a Lions team come into their building, there were obvious needs for this Texans offensive line, weren't addressed via trade. These guys are not getting healthier. And this Detroit defensive front, even without Aiden Hutchinson, they go out and they trade for Darius Smith. And even it's just guys coming out of nowhere and just producing for them. Al-Qadim Muhammad, a guy, journeyman guy, former Saint, had experience under Aaron Glenn. He had a good game against the Packers last week. And these guys just step up. It's the coaches, it's Aaron Glenn, it's Dan Campbell. They just get these guys in the right position. And I just don't think this Texans offensive line, obviously the biggest weakness on the entire field. And it seems like you're still going to have no Nico Collins in this game. He's not going to be ready. And, obviously Stephon Diggs out for the year. You just don't have the firepower to match up with this Lions team that's been lighting the league on fire. So I'm going with the Lions in this ball game, Laraib, and I'm going with them big because this Texans team has a lot to prove, and I don't think they prove it now. Give me the Lions 33, Texans 17.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you. I mean, it was just a turnstile there on Thursday Night Football last week, and the Jets front seven was getting whatever they wanted. Now, credit to the Texans, they're still able to run the ball a little bit with Joe Mixon, but in a game like this against the Lions, who have been very solid against the run, now they're bringing Darius Smith. I just feel like it's going to be a really rough game. Now, the one bright spot for this Texans team is Lewis, their pass defense, ranked third in the NFL in yards allowed. And so, in a world where Jared Goff isn't able to throw the ball deep down the field or in the intermediate, there's David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs just to tear you up on the ground. And so, I just think this is a game where it's unfortunate for the Texans, where Nico Collins was supposed to be coming off of IR this week, but has yet to practice, and now it's Thursday. And you're really relying on guys like Robert Woods and Tank Dell to really open up the field for you. This Lions defense can be thrown on. We've seen it before, but is this really a spot where CJ Stroud, where pressure's going to be in his face all game? I don't think so. I like the Lions 33-27.
All right, Laura, well, that's going to do it for our highlighted games of the week. So we're going to go ahead now and go through the rest pretty quickly here, starting off with the Atlanta Falcons traveling to the new New Orleans Saints. We weren't able to talk about it on the pod. Kind of, affected me because I had a lot to talk about, but you did film a short on it, so we were locked in. The new Orleans Saints without Dennis Allen, Sayonara, you freaking loser. The 2-7 Saints, who've lost 7 games in a row, are now hosting Atlanta in the Superdome. Atlanta favored by 4. Laraib, who you got?
I mean, I got to go with the Falcons here. I mean, they have really started to figure things out, Lewis, offensively, with Kirk Cousins, with Bijan Robinson, with Darnell Mooney, with Drake London. And I just think this is going to be too big of a task for the Saints to cover. Now, there is a little new coach theory. Teams with new head coaches figure out a way to either win the game or cover. I'm going to go with the Saints to cover in this one. I figure, that stadium is going to be rocking. But I think this is just too much for them to overcome with all the injuries. Your top two wide receivers are out for the year. You have Derek Carr as your starting quarterback. I just think this is too much for the Saints to overcome. Give me the Falcons at 27-24.
Yeah, I love the new coach theory. And especially when a team has just completely given up on a coach like this Saints team did. You saw the players coming out after the Panthers game, like just completely ashamed, embarrassed. And you fire the coach, but it just the lack of talent is still just so pitiful. Derek Carr just killing Chris Olave on the field last week against the Panthers. You can't lose to the Panthers and expect me to pick you in a football game. I'm sorry. I'm going with the Falcons here, and I'm picking the Falcons to cover as well. The Saints are going to have to show me something. Coach Rizzy has to riz me up. I'm going with the Saints. I'm going with the Falcons. Freudian slip. 27 to Saints 20 in this ballgame. I think it'll feel close, but then a late Drake London touchdown. He comes back. This puts it away. Let's go ahead, Laraib. Let's move on to our next game where we have the Giants in. Oh, I probably should have gone with this one first. I forgot. Hey, Germany, you love the NFL. Let's give you our best product. We have the woeful Giants and the woeful Panthers in Bayern, 8:30 a.m. Giants there by 6.5 in this game. And that's where I'm leaning in this one, Laraib. Sexy Dexy Dexter Lawrence has been playing outstanding this year. He already has 9 sacks this season. And you're like, well, there's some really good defensive tackles who specialize in the pass rush, who have had really good seasons before, like Aaron Donald. They haven't been nose tackle, Rob. Sexy Dexy is by far lapping the field as a nose tackle. 9 sacks. The next closest guy has 3. Aleem McNeil for the Lions. So this is just, he's been playing outstanding. He's going to butcher this Panthers offensive line. Give me the Giants in a close one because of how inept Daniel Jones is. I'm going to say 16-10 Giants win.
And I'm going to go with the Giants 23-17. I just think the Giants have overwhelmingly more talent than this Panthers team. The ale will be flowing in Germany watching this game, but I think the Giants win this one pretty good.
All right, next game up, we had the New England Patriots traveling to Chicago. Battle of the rookie quarterbacks. Chicago favored by 6. Drake May, Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams just suffered a drubbing by the hands of the Cardinals last week, 20-point loss. And the Patriots' scrappy overtime performance, interception overtime, lost them the game. Shout out to the Titans, whatever. But this game, Laraib, is in Chicago. A lot of weird chemistry things going on with this team, but the Patriots lack football talent. This Bears defense was really embarrassed last week by Kyler, but I don't think that's going to happen with a rookie quarterback going to Chicago. So I'm going to take the Bears in this one. I'm going to go Bears 19 to Patriots 10.
I will also have to, unfortunately, go with the Bears here.
You don't want to. You don't want to.
I really don't.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, I have to. They are the better team. I'm not going to give you a free point this week. And I just think that Bears defense, they'll get right back on track. Interesting with DJ Moore. It looks like he has had some chemistry issues with Caleb Williams. I was really hoping for him to get traded to, another team since I have him on fantasy, but alas, that does not happen. I think the Patriots cover here. I think there's a good spot for Drake May. If this Bears defense continues to play bad, he can keep it close. But I just think the Bears get it done. Give me the Bears 20-16.
Sometimes you got to go with your gut, Laraib. That's what someone told me. But this game is in Chicago. Next game up on the noon slate, we have the Buffalo Bills traveling to Indianapolis to face the Colts. Buffalo favored by 4 in this game. I mulled this one over. This is not an easy game for me. Buffalo's been playing very good football, but another week of Joe Flacco, I still don't really trust this Bills defense, even though they have been playing better as the season's going on. But this game being in Indianapolis kind of eliminates the weather aspect from Buffalo. And with Joe Flacco at the helm, Jonathan Taylor been really moving the ball well. I think Joe Flacco has an upset in him. I'm going with the Colts in this one, Laura.
And I'm going with the Bills. I mean, the one gripe I do have is this Bills rushing defense. Saw Achan and Raheem Mostert run all over them last week. And so, if Jonathan Taylor comes in and just does the same thing in this one, Joe Flacco throws some good balls, you could easily see the Colts winning. But I just think the Bills are on a completely different level. We're talking about a Super Bowl hopeful
No Amari Cooper in
versus
this game.
Super Bowl hopeful versus a playoff hopeful. I just think the Bills are the way better team. I like the Bills 30-20.
This is just the perfect midweek thing. The Bills drop a random one to an AFC South opponent, and we're like, what the hell happened there? Why are the Bills the 3 seed? And you look at a game like this, and you're like, that's why. Give me Joe Flacco. Give me Jonathan Taylor. This Colts offensive line has been moving, folks. I'm going with the Colts 27, the Bills 24. Next game up, we have a AFC West divisional matchup. The Broncos traveling to Kansas City to face the Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 7.5. Broncos, maybe a little fool's gold, maybe a great example of a good, bad team. When they face a real team like Baltimore, they get demolished. They just don't have the horses to hang with some of the top level teams, but they can certainly bludgeon some of the lower teams. But Chiefs, a team that's just punching way above in their weight class. I'm going with the Chiefs in this one, 33-10.
I really like the Broncos to cover this one.
Go ahead.
So I like the Chiefs 26
to cover. To cover.
20.
Yeah, so you're a
26-20 Chiefs. Not much to say.
Okay. Next one up, our last noon game. We have the Minnesota Vikings traveling to Jacksonville. Jacksonville is a 7-point underdog. Vikings, we're past Thanksgiving, and Sam Darnold's, not past Thanksgiving, we're past Halloween. Sam Darnold's still human. Maybe he's looking a little orange nowadays. Maybe his hair is turning a little green like a stem, but still human, still playing good football. Still have Justin Jefferson. TJ Hawkinson comes back this week. Maybe I should start him. I don't know. He will return another weapon in Kevin O'Connell's war chest to throw at this utter disgrace of a Jacksonville team who just finds ways to lose games, and this Vikings team find ways to win games. I think it'll be a game, honestly, where the Vikings are down a lot of the game. They find a way, or they don't find a way. The Jacksonville Jaguars find a way to lose it. Give me the Vikings 33, Minnesota, or to Jacksonville 28.
And give me the Vikings 26-20 as the Jags cover.
I think the Jags cover. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, so next one up, we have the 3 o'clock slate. Tennessee Titans traveling to Los Angeles to face the Chargers. Chargers favored by 7 points here. I just think the Chargers, they've really unleashed Justin Herbert, as some people have been calling for. And he's been playing outstanding football since he's been able to throw the ball a little bit more. And this Tennessee defense just way undermanned. Give me the Chargers in this one, Laura.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chargers. Finally, this is what good coaching and good football looks like in the Chargers organization after having Brandon Staley for so long. I think they dismantled this Titans team, which had to go toe-to-toe against the Patriots last week. I like the Chargers to win 30-17.
All right, and now we have a game that ideally we wouldn't really see here in the, wrap it up slate, but Eagles at Cowboys. This would be one of our highlighted games of the week, but the way this Cowboys team has imploded this season has just been such a travesty. No Dak, obviously, he's been placed on IR. He's going to miss some time. CeeDee Lamb with an AC joint sprain. Even if he is good to go in this game, he's not going to be 100%. And this Eagles team, especially their defense, has been leveling up recently, just bludgeoning opponents. And this is a team I still don't trust against great teams because I just don't like Nick Sirianni whatsoever. But this Cowboys team is not a great team, not a good team, not an average team. They are a bad team, and the Eagles are going to bludgeon them. I don't think this is 7 points. I can see the Eagles going in here and running it up. Give me the Eagles 35 to Cowboys 13.
Yeah, this is going to be the nail in the coffin for the Cowboy season, and who better to handle them than Nick Sirianni going into Jerry World. I agree with you. I think the Eagles are going to lay the boom on them. Jalen Hurts for tush pushes into end zone. Saquon Barkley 3 backward hurdles into the end zone. And Devonta Smith 3 one-hand catches in the corner of the end zone as the Eagles win 42-17.
Wow. So we definitely agree strongly on that one. Last game up, Laura, we have the Miami Dolphins traveling to Los Angeles. Uh, Dolphins are 1 point underdogs on the road, barely missing overtime because of a Tyler Bass 61-yarder to escape victory. The Bills did against the Dolphins last week. Now the Dolphins going to play the Rams on the road. This game, and we both looked at this and we're like, really, a 1 point spread for the Rams? This Rams team that's been hot recently after starting the season off 1-4. They are now 4-4. And, against this Miami team, yes, Tua is back, and he really does bring legitimacy back to this team. They still have these holes that I can't ignore, especially defensively. And with Puka back, Cooper Kupp back, Kyron Williams just doing his thing. He didn't score a touchdown last game. Naughty Kyron. But I think this offense is way too elite, and this Miami team will not be able to hang. I'm going with the Rams 28, the Dolphins 20.
Yeah, and I have to agree. This Rams team is really starting to put together a case for why they should win the NFC West versus a Dolphins team whose defense is just horrible. I think this is a huge spot for the Rams. I think they win 31-24.
All right, Rob, well, that's going to do it for our previews and picks of the week. But before we get out of here, we have our upsets, locks, and best bets of the week. So I'm going to go ahead and I will start with the upsets. And I mentioned it. I just think the Bills are due for a stinker. This Colts team has a lot of matchups that I like. They're at home. I think they'll be able to run the ball. And Josh Allen's been playing really clean football all season long. Is that going to continue in this game? I hope not, because I'm picking the Colts as my upset.
And for my upset, I'm going with the team who's playing tonight, the Cincinnati Bengals, going into Baltimore.
Sorry, the Ravens defense
after
just scared me.
surrendering 10-point lead in the fourth quarter late last time. They hold on to it in this one. That Ravens defense does not get any pressure on Joe Burrow. He stays cool in the pocket, and they win and pick up the upset.
All right, Robin, what is your lock of the week?
My lock has to be the San Francisco 49ers coming off a bye, going to Tampa, but still against this Bucs team who is depleted offensively. I think Christian McCaffrey comes back in this one, puts up a huge performance as the 49ers start to go on their Super Bowl run.
Okay, bold little throw in there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what that blossoms into. My lock of the week is Detroit. I'm just picking the best team available. I mean, that's Detroit here. They're playing the Texans team. I get the Texans are a different team at home, but Detroit is just playing like one of the best teams in the NFL this season. Now, to get them as my lock, I feel like is just free money here. So I'm going with the Lions, my lock of the week. And best bet of the week, Laraib, we just talked about it. Philadelphia only getting 7 points on the road against no Dak, a banged up CD, and already an awful Cowboys team. I just think this Eagles team is like a sledgehammer against bad teams, and the Cowboys are a bad team. I love Philadelphia getting 7 points.
And for my best bet, we also just talked about it. It was the Rams -1. I just think they win this game really easily, and just to have them at -1, I think that's a great line.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our Week 10 picks and previews. Thank you if you made it this far. We are starting to get to the home stretch. Coming up soon, these playoff previews, these playoff predictions are coming, and we can't wait to break it all down. Laraib, do you want to say anything before we head out of here today?
No, I think it's the First and Goal podcast signing off.
Peace.